What's up, Minneapolis? Becca Thompson here. So yesterday, the Minneapolis City Council heard like an emergency petition to make a formal request to Governor Walz to have an eviction moratorium in the city of Minneapolis, and they passed it unanimously. And I want to explain to you how this is not only wildly short-sighted, it's actually going to 100% without question hurt the people it is meant to help. Okay? This is about economics, and if we let this go forward, it will inevitably turn parts of the city into essentially a third world country. That's just a truth. So I want to explain this to you in economic terms, and I'm really sad that nobody on the council decided to just stick their neck out and say it yesterday. So if we do a rent freeze and an eviction moratorium, what that does is that immediately triggers what's called a net operating income. Okay, so operating income is just like, let's say that this mug is an intractable thing that I can fill with coffee and then I can sell the coffee, but the mug remains with me, right? The operating income is the more cups of coffee that I sell inside of this mug, right? I make money, but the mug still has value. And if it cracks or if I give it to a customer and the handle breaks, I have to fix the mug. I have to make sure that the cracks are finished. And I actually have to keep brewing coffee. Are you with me? So that is a rental unit. So if you're saying, okay, there's no longer coffee in this mug, but people are still going to use the mug, you just can no longer sell the coffee. Well, are you incentivized to fix the broken handle anymore when the mug itself has been rendered useless for you to be able to have an operating income? No, you're not, because you can't invest into fixing it if you don't have any means with which to offset that cost. This is basic economics. So duplexes, fourplexes, small apartment buildings are mostly owned by local landlords, not huge companies that everyone decries like, oh, the billionaire class. That's not. When the net operating income drops, the property value immediately drops. Well, all throughout my campaign, I was talking about the valuation of the entire city. This will cause the valuation of the entire city to drop precipitously over the winter at a time of crucial need to make sure that we keep things flowing. The end game of this is doubling and even tripling any resident's property taxes in the 2027 fiscal calendar because of the fact that the city has no means with which to make up this loss in property tax, all because of the fact that they're trying to virtue signal to a group of people that they aren't even going to help, and I'm about to explain. So first of all, let me be super clear. This already happened in New York City, San Francisco, Detroit back in the 60s and 70s. In the you can go ahead and look it up. In New York City in the 1970s, something like 30,000 buildings were abandoned because they became overrun with rats and other infestations because the property owner stopped paying for deferred maintenance. Like they stopped paying for the basic, like having hall lights on, right? Well, you can still pay to have your lights on. Oh, but then the wires get crossed. Oh, then somebody starts a kitchen fire because they're not paying for the gas because they can't afford the gas. So they literally like light a fire inside their apartment. Like this happened in New York City not even 50 years ago, okay? So look it up. Also, San Francisco, Detroit, other places that have complete collapse. Detroit has never recovered, but Minneapolis is actually at greater risk because Detroit had the auto industry, and that is what facilitated the collapse. We are actually creating our own collapse. It's why I ran for the city council, and it's why I'm here trying to tell you, okay, it's not me being insensitive, it's just the truth. So now why this immediately hurts the people it's meant to help. The things that are going to be the most impacted the most quickly are the neighborhoods where the rents are already low, where most of the immigrant community is already living. So those are not big, nice, fancy high rises, 5/1s like where my opponent lived, Wakpata with the brand new and the rooftop over. I door knocked all these places. That's not the places that are going to get hit hardest first. What's going to get hit hardest first are places like East Phillips in Minneapolis or Cedar Riverside area, where a lot of these buildings are older. They're owned by like just Minneapolitans who probably bought them over the years and maybe have 2 or 3 rental properties. And that moratorium, what's going to happen is because everybody else is already living on the margins, those are more at risk to having said like kitchen fires and different sort of infestations. So what happens is those buildings deteriorate faster. okay? When they deteriorate, the health conditions are at risk and subject, right? And so then because there's less of a margin for loss, because they're smaller properties in more high crime, high impact neighborhoods, then the owner is decentivized to doing anything and they will literally let it fall into ruin. So the people that you're aiming to help are actually hurt by now further unsafe conditions. Do you see what I'm saying? So this moratorium is like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. This is yet another thing that is well-intentioned and completely not thought out. It is put out with just emotion and fear. And the truth is, our community cannot handle this. It will reduce the housing supply, accelerate property abandonment, destroy certain neighborhoods, shrink the tax base, inevitably raise property taxes on everybody else, and further degrade low-income neighborhoods. And that has nothing to do with corporatists or millionaires. It has everything to do with basic economics of supply, and that those on the margins are the first to be hurt. You want to keep rents because you want to keep the autonomy of forcing the building owner to care, because you cannot handcuff someone to put money into something that you have made a policy to destroy. Because they'll go to a judge and they'll say, I couldn't possibly upkeep this because look what the city council did to me. It's called sovereignty, you guys. It's baked into our laws. So the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Also, please don't shoot the messenger. I'm disappointed in my friends that are on the council that are more pragmatic. I'm sure they just didn't want to stick their neck out because the activist networks are so intense right now. I want to say that my heart is with our immigrant community, and I'm sorry for what they're going through. I am, and this isn't the answer. It's going to make it worse. Because when these places have no heat in February,
we're hungry and frozen, some life that we've chosen. How we gonna pay? How we gonna